There are more than 25 businesses in the Susquehanna Valley that are over 100 years old. The Daily Item recently talked to a handful of them about their history. The ACF Industries location in Milton was originally Milton Car Works in 1864, before ACF was formed in 1899 with the merger of 13 railcar producers.
When it was put in 1956, it was the second largest press in the world. It's 2.5 stories high and goes 1.5 stories down in the ground. They put it in and then built a building around it.
ACF has produced a number of products over its lifetime, including rail freight cars, hopper and tank cars, propane and oil tank cars.
The very first oil well was drilled in Titusville, Pennsylvania, in the United States. And that's what these were made for, to haul the oil from the oil well.
Melanie Page and her husband Matt Mackley bought the Forest House back in May of 2016. The Forest House has had several owners since it was opened back in 1866 and is one of Union County's oldest operating businesses.
It's just this original area, and then a family lived here and it became a cabin because it's out in the middle of nowhere. Then they extended it and made it into like a pub.
Before purchasing the Forest House, the couple had to do some research into the history of the building, where Melanie had worked as a bartender part-time.
We just knew it was an older place, and kind of had a rough and tumble crowd way back when.
The Forest House now enjoys a more family-friendly atmosphere with a playset out back for the kids.
30 years ago, the additions were all put on, which would be the kitchen, there's a back room, garage, things like that, all the way to extend because it just grew over the years.
Calvin Zimmerman began making buggies, carriages, and sleighs at his garage in Seven Points in 1889 before moving it to Sunbury in 1916, where he switched over to automobiles and became what is now known as Zimmerman Motors.
He was in Herndon, building buggies and sleighs and carriages and stuff, and his son wanted to go out and start his own business, so he went to 7 Points and took a 2-story barn. And he did all the mill work on the lower level and all the fancy design work upstairs, and built carriages, sleighs, buggies. Wirt Funeral Home has pictures of one of the first wagons that we have built, and we have a sleigh that was built out in 7 Points. And he worked there until 1913. And then he moved to Sunbury on Church Street. And 3 years later, he built one of the current buildings we still use.
Ford Pop Bertrand opened Purify Candy in Lewisburg in 1907.
He started it, and then his son quit the railroad business and joined him. And then that was the Ford Bertrand and Son Purity Candy. And what is the same, mostly, is we make things in small batches. There's no huge production runs. We're constantly making it all year to try to keep stuff fresh. So that hasn't changed.
Some of the equipment used in making the candy was of original design, and other pieces have been around since the early years of the company.
Up until about 4 years ago, we had the same mechanical caramel cutter. It was a big flywheel thing with a big guillotine blade that would come down and slice the caramels. And we finally, went modern with buying a machine from the 1970s a couple years ago. We think it's great.